Hi everyone, Eileen here. Okay, so this morning, what am I doing? I am going to do a couple of journal pages. Last weekend, I really enjoyed myself teaching at the Sweet Poppy Stencils weekend retreat. Now, unfortunately, on the Sunday, the day that we were planning to leave anyway, we had to leave a little earlier because the weather, well, I'll use a technical term, it got a bit iffy. And the snow started to come down, and so I didn't get to finish the 2 journal pages for my second class. So now I'm going to do 2 pages, and I'm putting it on YouTube so anyone can join in, and I hope that you enjoy it. I found that it was lots of fun, quite quick, quite easy to do. Now, why do I use a journal? I use a journal mainly to experiment. I try out new technique using different journals because obviously I want different textures, I want different papers, and I want to see how inks and paints react on the different surfaces and substrates. The one that I've got at the moment is a pink pig journal, and it's a really robust and strong watercolour card. Now, it's quite a smooth surface, so I'm assuming that it's a hot-pressed watercolour card, but it's really good for inks and paints and will take a lot of other mediums as well. Now, I've used distressed inks with this, so I use it for experimenting. Some of my journals have got some really good stuff in there. Others, it's utter rubbish, but anyway, we won't go there. And I usually write on the back, I haven't in this case, but I usually write on the back of the page what I've used, what stencils I've used, but more importantly, what mediums I've used. And that way, when I want to make a card, I'll flip through the journals and think, oh, I'll do that design and I'll use that and try this. So it's sort of transferred to a lot of my card making. But also it's good to look through and remember the day that you did whatever you did. And it's memories, isn't it? And that's what a journal is all about too. So starting off with this one, because there's enough waffle. Starting off with this, and I've got another journal so that because I'm greedy, I've got 2. and so I can refer to one whilst I carry on with the other one. So a bit of copy paper to protect the page, like so. And I'm using all squared up Sweet Poppy stencil. One of my faves. It's got quite an abstract feel, and I do love abstract designs and so on and so forth. So I'm using that, and I'm also using the dragonfly. It's a steampunk dragonfly. So, and this steampunk dragonfly is designed, it's an image by Emma Cronin, one of the Sweet Poppy Stencils designers. Clever young lady. Now, what else do I need? I need my magnetic sheet. So I'm going to pop that down underneath my page. So I don't really need this copy paper, so forget that I put that on. Okay, it's habit with copy and paper. Popping down the stencil, just down from the spine of the journal, you know, this curly bit at the top with the wires. Just checking that you've got that okay. Yes, you have. Now I'm going to use a little bit of tape because sometimes I have strayed out of the stenciled area with the ink and I don't want to do that. But this, everywhere else is covered. Good. I'm using some old favourites, picked raspberry. Distressing, this is normal distressing. Use whatever you like, dye-based inks, or if you want to use oxides, that's fine. Peacock feathers, and squeeze lemonade. Starting off with squeeze lemonade first, and I've got some really large brushes. I've got these from Sweet Poppy Stencils, And it's just a sort of a very quick lay down some colour in the background, but lightly. I'm not pressing too heavily. I don't want to grind the colour in. I just want it to sit on the surface because I want a fairly pale look, and then that way my images will be centre stage. Picked raspberries next. Taking another piece of copier paper just to check, because this is a very strong colour. I don't want it to overpower all of the lemon squeezed lemonade colour. A few orange tones as it finds the yellow, but also some areas that of course are left to the pink colour so that it's got its own identity. I'm trying hard not to do a straight block rectangle. I want a sort of bit of movement, a bit of fluidity going across the page. That's the plan. Until I take up the stencil, I'm not sure if I've achieved that. But I am bearing it in mind, so it's not a straight up and down, you know, sort of go in and out a bit. So now I want my other last brush for the blue. Now, we all know that peacock feathers is so strong. It is such a strong colour. So again, a bit of ink on, but then the majority of it off. And then onto the pink so I can get some purple tones. And then onto the lemon so I can get some green tones. And I think I've got quite a bit of blue there, so this is when I go back to the yellow brush and just lighten up that middle. I think that will do it, because I'm going to add more colour with crayons. That's why I don't want the background to be too overpowering. Right, brushes away. Lift up the stencil. Oh no, that's good. That looks really good. Okay, I'm happy with that. Stencil straight into water. Wash with a brush. Mind your finger, they're like knives, these stencils. Leaving my magnetic sheet in place. Now I'm going to pop on the main image, which is the beautiful steampunk dragonfly. So starting off down around about there, well away from the wire top of the stencil. Protect the outside edge of my journal from getting any stray ink from where the stencil finishes. Sun is shining. It's quite early in the morning here, but this will be posted this afternoon, this YouTube. Ken's gone and taken Daisy out for a walk. Later than normal, and she was crossing both sets of legs. Oh, come on, Daddy, I'm going to go for a walk. Right, Versifying Clair Twilight. I love this blue. And blue, a dark blue, not as harsh as black. But, of course, you use any colour you like. I'm going to use the blue brush again. Loading up with the ink. And then popping down, and very quickly, because of the surface area of this brush is huge, so it doesn't take long with a large brush to get that image done. Try not to put too wet ink or too much wet ink on at a time though, because otherwise you might get it leaking under the stencil. So apply it in layers if you can, bit at a time. And make sure you don't move your stencil, because I nearly did then. Ooh. Okay, so that's one done. Going to do 3 in total. Oh, that's not bad. Oh, got a mark there, look. No matter. On comes my fabulous ink eraser. Soon get rid of that. And being watercolour card, you can really go to town with an eraser on this, because the card is so robust. And then I need a brush to get rid of the rubbish that's left behind. Large do-it-yourself brush from a local do-it-yourself shop. Cheap as chips, this one. So extravagant, I think it was about 99 pence. Right. I'm not going to bother to clean this. You can if you want to, but I'm brave or foolhardy. And popping that down so that I've got image number 2 just off the side. I'm using clean Sweet Poppy Stencils stencil tape, so not recycling. No expense spared with me. And making sure that my journal page is protected from any stray ink. And back to the blue brush and the same colour, Twilight. Don't know if I've got all of the wing here. No, I haven't. So move that over a little. That's better. Again, apply the ink in layers so that it doesn't leak under the stencil. Yeah, that's good. I've got some on my magnetic sheet here, so I'm going to get a dry cloth. Ink, I mean. Just wipe that off. And then finally, the last image. Again, I'm not cleaning my stencil, but your choice if you do. And I'm watching my fingers. Look, they're getting covered in ink, so be careful with that. So again, I want to go for a different direction. And I'm coming up from this corner, I think. I think that will do the business. And I have actually got the tape in place, so I'll leave that. But a bit more here. And a tiny amount there, so that it's all protected. Right, back to the brush, blue brush. Hold it down again. Firmly. Layer at a time. And that should be it. Take that off. Stencil into water. Oh, look. Mess again. No worry. Caught the edge of that. Back to the eraser. Get rid of it. You would never know it was there, would you? Right. Okay. And I've got some along the bottom. No, in fact, along the bottom I've got fingerprints. Do I care? No. Off we go again. Now, whilst I've got this eraser in my hand, I am going to use it for a technique on this page. I'm going to use it to add texture to the page. Now, be careful. I've got inky fingerprints, so I need to be careful. I'm just going to take off some of the colour, and it will give it a scratchy look. So it will give it a textured look in the background. And that's what I'm after, a bit arty. A bit more there. Just in the area where I've got block of colour. And do three areas if you can. 1, 2, I'm going to do 5. A bit more up there. A bit more here. Just takes a bit of the colour off, and I think it gives it, I just like the textured look that it gives it. Right, let me hold that up so, well, you can actually see it on the camera. So it sort of gives it a sort of a textured look. Adds to the mix, doesn't it? Yeah, of course it does. Right. Okay, now I want to put some more texture on, and I'm going to do that with a Sweet Poppy Stencil stamp from a set, and it's this one, and it says, learn from yesterday, live for today, and hope for tomorrow. So act at the moment. I've popped these stamp on a block, as you can see. I'm using Versifying Clair Glamorous, and the set it comes from is from Sweet Poppy Stencil, and it's this one. So sorry, I'm not sure what it's called, but you've got a few different sentiments on here. Life is too short to be normal. Stay weird. And then we get sort of sensible stuff then. Thank you. Thanks. Have I told you how much I love you? We all need to know that, don't we? Especially these days. Right. So you'll find that on the Sweet Poppy Stencil stamp page. Inking up with the Glamorous. More copy paper, and I'm taking off 2 generations because this is for texture. I'm not really bothered what it says, to be honest. Obviously, you're going to see a word here and there, so it mustn't be anything really rude, but I just want it for texture in the background. One of my favourite ways of adding texture. And the further down the page I go, the less ink I've got, of course. So inking up again, and then 2 again off. Make sure the stamp is up the right way. And try and get it straight, because for instance, you can read all of it there, and if it wasn't straight, it would really notice. So coming right the way down to the bottom, and then a bit more there. So it just adds something, doesn't it? Yeah, I've overdone that a bit, I think. So, yeah, maybe not so many stamped. Hey-ho, story of my life. Now, the next one is a stamp, and it says Nature. I love the font of this. I love the word, of course. And this is from a stamp set of the beautiful Peony. And I think you will find this on the Sweet Poppy Stencil stamp section of the website. And I'm using the word Nature. But there's another one here, another stamp. Earth Laughs in Flowers. I use that a lot as well, because I love flowers. I think we do, don't we, when we are into stamping and stenciling. And that is really useful, that stamp. Again, I'm going with the blue. Stick to the same colour. Now I've got the grid here from the original stencil that I used, all squared up. So I'm going to follow it and pop nature into there. Follow that grid, that's handy, and that also helps me keep the stamp straight. And then I'm going up this one. Another pathway in the grid of the stencil. And then finally, and this really gives me good balance. So it's handy. Like so. I'm really loving that. Okay. A few crayons. Let's pretend that you've got some ugly spots. Well, of course you haven't, but let's pretend you have. And you want to lighten them up. So I've got a bit of, it's a bit muddy here. So I'm just going to pop down a bit of yellow crayon. And it's amazing how quickly it will lift that colour. Look, not being careful. Just adding a little bit of colour here and there. Just to lift it. And if you go over the area that you've used the rubber on to give texture, of course you get a different shade altogether. Because you've lifted the colour underneath. So any areas that you think, oh, I like that colour, I'm not so keen on that, just get your crayons out and have a bash. So that gives it a bit more colour in the middle. Now, there's a lot of yellow there now. So I'm now going on to a bit of orange. A bit of shading at the side. I'm just following the block of colour that was laid down via the original stencil. And then there's a pink here, and I want to add a little bit of pink to this pink area. Now I'm getting a good contrast here, but I don't know how much you're picking up. So just get your crayons out and have a play, and you'll see. And of course, being crayons, if you don't like what you've done, get the eraser out and have another bash with that. But I'm loving that. Put it down again. Let's have a look. See? Okay. Colours aren't really true. It's a bit dark now. The sun's going in. Typical. So that's page number 1. And I'm very quickly now going to go on to page number 2, which again is going to be dragonflies, but not stenciled ones this time. Have I got any more to do with that? No, I am finished, definitely. Right, so away we go. So I'm turning the page is turned over. Now I haven't got a sample of page 2, so you're going to have to trust me. We're sort of going to create it together. It's in my head, but it just isn't in my journal, all right? Now, I'm using if I can find it, the beautiful stencil. Oh, and I've forgotten the name of it. Oh, that's no good. What's it called? Oh, I'm so sorry, and I can't go looking it up now, but it's gone completely out of my head. But it's one of the new releases from Sweet Poppy Stencil. It might even come to me as I go through the process. So I'm going to use this on the background just to lay some colour down. And it's one of my favourites. Oh, isn't it awful when the brain goes dead? Or the mind just sort of empties and you start panicking. I'm putting down, again, my magnetic sheet. You're all screaming at me now, aren't you? You're screaming the name of the stencil. Louder. I'm really chilled today. I hope that's coming over. That's because I'm having fun. Right. I'm going to use for this demonstration, let me put some of these inks away. I'm going to use different colours, of course. Oops. Oh, goodness me. Right, I'm using ice spruce and wild honey. You can tell I'm doing this on the hoof, can't you? I got all the stamps out and the stencils out that I wanted to use, but because I didn't do a sample, I've got no idea how it's going to turn out. It could be obviously fabulous, or it could be a load of rubbish. Right. Let's go ahead thinking it's going to be fabulous. If it is, you'll see it. If it isn't, you're not going to see this video. I'm starting off with ice spruce. Taking off some of the colour, not too much, because this again, because my distressing pads I use so often, none of them are really overly wet. I do regularly re-ink them, but I do them overnight so that the ink really soaks in, and then I make a note of which ones I've re-inked and always test them before I use them. So this one hasn't been re-inked, so it's quite dry, and I'm just going down, I think, the centre panel here, like so. Much as I did with the original first sample. So again, I don't really want a block of colour, so I'm going up over from the left over to the right, but try and leave the colour all white all the way around the outside. So that's the grey. Got a right mess on my desk. Nothing new there then. And wild honey now. So I want the orange. Oh, it's right in front of me. Yeah, there it is. So wild honey. That's quite an inky pad, so I need to be careful. So I'm going to pop in a bit of colour in the middle and then coming down over to the left at the bottom. And that looks quite bright. Let's see how it is. Oh, that's nice. Oh, right, okay. Right, that's a success then. We'll stick with that. And again, pop your stencil into water and be careful how you clean it. Next, I've decided that I'm going to use stamps. So taking out the magnetic sheet, and I don't need a stamp pad because this journal is quite thick, and so it will give me the cushioning that I need for stamping on. And I'm starting off with a Lavinia stamp. Oh, this is an old favourite. It's always on my desk. And this is called Sacred Spells. I don't even need to look it up. I know the name by heart. And then I'm also going to use Back to Blue, my favourite Twilight again. Versafine Clair Twilight. Gentle tapping. Again, same as we did in demonstration number 1. This is just for texture. This is just for interest. And so consequently, I need to take off 2 generations of the ink. So 2 generations, and then down it goes. Make sure it's straight. Press firmly. Not much came out there, but no, it doesn't matter. And it wasn't very straight either, actually. Yeah, so listen to me, but don't copy what I do. I think that seems to be the theme. So let's pop another bit down there. Oh, I've made it even worse now. Look at that splodge. Oh, we've got to get rid of that. Okay. Fortunately, I have another eraser. And let's get rid of that. And my eraser's dirty, so I want a cleaner one. But we get there, they'll go. Being heavy-handed with that, I think you guessed. But look, it's gone. See? God, I just love these little babies. I really do. Right. I think probably the ink would have dried by now. So you can tell I'm winging this, can't you? Down we go. And again, second generation. And then off we go. Over the page, down the page. Oh, that's better. Down we go to the bottom. So it just gives me a bit of background texture. And as you saw earlier on, if you've got any areas that you think are a bit over the top regarding the ink, you just get an eraser and just knock the colour back or knock the text back so that it goes back into the background. Now, I've decided that I'm going to use Visible Image Dragonflies for this. I love their stamps with these. So starting off this, I'll give you the name of the set, actually. It's called Live in the Moment. And you've got sort of other images, circles and stuff, as well as the three main dragonfly shapes. So I've got the large one I'm using and the medium and the small one. I'm not using anything else, but obviously it's your choice. You can add as much or as few images as you like. Sticking with Twilight and inking up well the first dragonfly. Plenty of ink on. This is quite a new pad. When you're stamping, you can't afford to be sparing on the ink, I tell you. Right, now where shall I stick this? I heard that. I'm going to go for the middle in this. Let's try it. So at an angle, so you haven't got to worry about it being straight. At an angle, up the page, down, let the ink soak in. And up. Oh, yeah, that's nice. Right, speed up a bit because I think this video might be a bit too long and I'll be in trouble with YouTube. And pop it on there too. So this is the medium, and then I'm going different angle up the page. So, and then finally the really small dragonfly, tiddly one, gentle tapping again. And then I'm going to pop that one down there. This doesn't really need an awful lot more, I don't think. Maybe the nature stamp can come back in again. No, actually, no. I have got this one. I need to show you this one. You know, I've got a habit of cutting up my stamps. Well, I'm not proud. It doesn't matter whose make it is. I'll cut them up if I want to. So I've been at the scissors at my visible image stamps as well. Now, this stamp is this one here. Can you see it okay? Art. And the stamp itself says the world needs, and then art, and there's a line. And I didn't want the world needs. I still use it because it still fits together, even though I've trimmed it with the scissors. But I wanted that word art. I just love the design of it. And overall, it's just a fabulous stamp to be used on so many different occasions. And on this occasion, I wanted it on its own. So I'm going to use that. And again, I'm going to use the Twilight. And I'm going to pop it. Make sure it's up the right way. It's a really arty art stamp, if that makes sense. Down it goes in there. Oh, that's really nice. Yeah, really is. And then I'm going to find my nature stamp again that I used on the previous one, and I'm going to incorporate that into this page also, because I think it needs something. So I'm going to pop that there, like so. And then this one I'm going to pop over there, but in vertical position. Right. Okay. I have to say it's not the most brilliant design, but I still like it. And that is where the experiments comes in. So I will write down on the back of this page all of the stamps, etc., that I've used. And when I want to make a card, I'll look at this and I'll think, that worked, that didn't, too much space. And then that will lead me on to refining the design. And that's what I use my journals for. Obviously, other people have different adventures with their journals, and I hope that you enjoy your adventure. Thanks for looking today. I'll be back soon. I'm working on my next online paid class, which is a Lavinia Stamps alcohol ink class. So I'm working on that at the moment, but I've had a fabulous time showing you these 2 new pages. Let's move this. Let's move that. And it's dragonflies to the fore. Bye for now, everyone. Thanks for looking.